This is the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, like he said. So come, see the place where he lay, and then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead. Indeed, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him." This is my message for you. So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. And suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took a hold of his feet, and worshiped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my siblings to go to Galilee. There they will see me." This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. So every 3 years we get this reading on Easter Sunday from Matthew. This is Matthew's version of the resurrection. And the thing about Matthew's version is it's a little bit different than the other Gospels. So we heard that the women went to the tomb, and at the tomb in Luke and Mark, they bring spices to care for Jesus' dead body. But in Matthew, what did we hear? Oh, is this a sign of our public school systems? Reading comprehension. What did we hear? What did they do? Did they come and bring spices? No, they didn't bring spices. They came to see the tomb. The answer is in front of you in your bulletin, by the way. So what's really interesting is that they didn't go to fix anything. They didn't go to finish the burial. And in fact, they weren't even expecting the resurrection. And then, there at the tomb, an earthquake began to shake. The ground shook, and the gravestone rolled away. And then an angel, not one with wings, but instead a messenger, sat atop a stone. And the guards who were there, and they were there because the temple authorities said, "Hey, they're going to come along and they're going to steal Jesus' body. Put the guards there." Well, these guards, they were useless. They became fainting goats and just completely let the tomb roll wide open. And what we see then inside the tomb is that Christ was no longer there. But here's the thing about this story. Yeah, Matthew is the only one who talks about the earthquake. But the reality is that the earthquake didn't resurrect Christ. Rather, the earthquake revealed what God had already done, what death could not stop. And that experience is quite familiar, Because we live in a world that feels like it's constantly shaking. Military conflicts and wars that seem to multiply by the month, from Ukraine to Gaza to Venezuela to Iran, and Lord knows what's next. And each one has a ripple effect on our daily lives. Or, here in Chicago, it seems like the storms just never seem to let up, like the literal storms, right? It's like rain and hail and wind and all these things over and over. Our friends out west, it is on fire over and over again. And as this is all happening, it is reminding us that climate change is real and our insurance premiums will never go down. And then there are the seismic shifts that are happening in almost every one of our careers and vocations. Artificial intelligence is moving so quickly that the ground seems to shake and give way, and we are trying to figure out, what does it even mean to be human? Will our jobs even be there? Will college graduates find a place in the workforce? And closer to home, far too often the ground shakes beneath us as we have a new diagnosis, or the ebbs and flows of grief take us over, or our changing relationships, or the uncertainty about what might come next. And if you're anything like me, when things feel unstable, I have a tendency to not see life in those shaky moments. I assume that there's no place that new life or God's presence can be. And when we get caught in that mindset and that we decide that something is already dead, well, then the problem is that we stop tending to it. We stop investing in it. We stop believing that anything new can come from this thing. Last year, I had a moment a little bit like this. It's not a diagnosis, it's not war. But instead, my partner Alex decided that he wanted to plant some seeds in a raised bed. I promise I'm gonna get to the point of how this is like shaky ground. Because by plant, I mean that he took enough seeds for a 100 square foot flower bed and dumped it into 9 square feet in our backyard. Now, this is his way of gardening, you know. When we're in a relationship, we all know we gotta give a little something. And so I looked at what he had done and I said, oh, this is never gonna grow. It is too overcrowded. I can't even imagine anything taking root. And I looked at this patch week after week and nothing, just dirt and nothing. I think that I was like, the birds probably took the seeds away. That was quite a feast. No sprouts, no growth, just dirt. And I had decided that it didn't work, and frankly, it wasn't worth my time. You have to give up with your partner sometimes, right? Just like, let them do their own thing. But then the thing is that summer came along, and more specifically, late summer came along, and suddenly sprouts started coming up out of the ground, and literally everywhere. Remember, 100 square feet in 9 square feet. They were like just growing and spilling itself over the bed, and it didn't stop. It just kept growing into the fall and even into early winter. And I was like, what are these seeds that you bought? Because it was abundantly excessive. And I remember standing there thinking 2 things. First, I need to supervise Alex in the garden next year. And second, I was completely wrong. And not just wrong about the plants, but wrong about what was possible. And because I thought nothing was gonna happen, I stopped paying attention to it. It probably sprouted weeks earlier. I moved on, I walked past it, I ignored it. I thought that nothing was happening, but it wasn't that nothing was happening. It was just, I couldn't see what was happening. And that is the story at the tomb. You see, Jesus had already been raised. That earthquake did not cause resurrection, but instead it revealed it. And that is often how we experience God. Oftentimes, it's the quaking moments of our lives that open our eyes to see God's presence. For God is bringing about new life around us and in us and through us far, far before we can ever see it and understand it. And that's why the scriptures can be such a rich lens for us, because they show us that this God that we worship, this God that we come and we sing praise to, this God has been showing up not just 2,000 years ago, but this God has continually showed up time and time again. And really, it just is waiting for us to notice what is already being done. You see, that first Easter morning was not the moment that God was doing something new. It wasn't the first time resurrection happened. Instead, it was a moment where these women at the tomb finally began to see what God was already doing. And if you notice, the angel and both Jesus told the women in Matthew to go, because seeing never stays private. For the women at the tomb, they saw and then they went. They became the first messengers to point out the ways that Christ is living and moving in each of us. They went to share the good news that nothing can stop our God, that death cannot remove God's love, and that although you can kill a person, you can never stop Christ from living on in the world. And so here in this place, we continue to glimpse, even now, ways of God among us. We see the ways that this space is opening up to become ADA accessible. We see it in the relationships that we are making with San Timoteo to support and be ready for whatever uncertainty that our neighbors might face yet again this spring. We see it as the first time in over a decade that we're launching a communion class with over a dozen students. You see, resurrection isn't always dramatic. It isn't always a stone rolled away and a messenger sitting on top and fainting goats of these security guards, but instead, resurrection is happening in little places around us. It is the quiet signs of life that could be missed if we weren't opening and looking and slowing down not to rush past it and decide that it's already useless. And sometimes the signs of life are right there in front of us. During our construction, which is almost done, I kept pushing the GC. I said, come on, Easter, that would be cool, right? And he was like, it would also be cool if we could finish and do it right. And I said, okay, heard. But during construction, I've been kind of like noticing things in the building that I have totally missed over the past 11 or 12 years. And one of the things that caught me the last few weeks were our original wood railings. Now, as each and every one of you walked in this building today, no matter what door you came in, I can guarantee you that you walked past an original railing that had a carved acorn on it. Who saw the carved acorn? Okay, I got two. This is like mic drop. Like, I couldn't have planned this better. I thought at least I would get like a quarter of you, but like, we got almost all of you. And so the thing is that they're original from 1906. A lot of us have walked past them day after day, myself included. And they've been there the whole time, but they went unnoticed by almost everyone in this room. And so just like those plants, those seeds that Alex planted in the soil, small, easily overlooked, easy to pass by without a second thought, so too, these railings, these oak these acorns. They're right there, that we pass by them. And inside that acorn, a real one at least, would have a small seed, and this little seed can grow into a big, strong oak tree. You see, this is yet another example of the way that new life in God is hidden in plain sight because we sometimes are looking elsewhere for it. You see, the tomb looked empty, and the garden's bed soil looked barren, and even those railings looked useless and ordinary, but in all of them, life was there. And so, friends, today as you leave, I invite you to take a moment, and as you walk down the stairs out the front, look for the railing. I promise, they're at both doors. Look for the acorn. Notice it. And then remember that it's not always that nothing is happening, but it's often that we don't see what God is already doing. For God is at work even when it looks like nothing is happening. Christ is living among us to bring love and justice and peace. After all, Easter teaches us that Christ is risen not because we finally noticed it, but because God has already done it, and God is already doing it among us. And now we are invited to learn to see God's new life among us in acorn, in seed, in one another. Friends, alleluia and amen. A blessed Easter to you all.